Hey everyone, Mark Allen. Welcome back to Shed Talks. I got a question a couple days ago from our brothers and sisters, the triathletes down there in Brazil, and they were asking me if I could just kind of explain heart rate training because they've seen a lot of their fellow comrades, compatriots, training partners who have been coached by me who use heart rate to regulate their training zones, that they've gotten these great results. So let me just kind of give you some history about heart rate training, how I came across it, how it helped me, and then also how you can use it in your training to optimize your performance in any distance triathlon, whether it's from a sprint, Olympic, half Ironman, all the way up to full Ironman distance races. I started in the sport in 1982. I was 24 years old. I came from a swimming background where everything we did in the pool was basically hard. You know, the coach would throw you in the pool, give you this incredibly hard anaerobic workout. You'd come back the next day exhausted because you hadn't recovered, do the same thing over and over and over. When I got into the sport of triathlon, I kind of started training the first year or two with that same mentality. Like at some point in every swim, bike, or run, I had to do something that was race pace. Clearly anaerobic, right? High end, high heart rate, high output, high pace, fast pace, just pushing it, that no pain, no gain kind of mentality. That's all I knew. I did get some great results those first couple of years, but I also saw something else was happening. I'd do a race, I'd end up sick afterwards. I would have some kind of little injury that would prevent me from training again for another week or two. My recovery got slower and slower and slower. Yes, I did have some good races, but every workout I was going hard. Finally, after about a year and a half of training like this, I was introduced to a gentleman named Phil Maffetone who really did a lot of the pioneering research in heart rate training. And he said, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to take you to a running track and I'm going to have you put on a heart rate monitor, which back in that time was nothing like you saw now. It was a big box that we had to sort of strap to my chest, and the readout was actually on the top of the box, so I kept having to look at it to see what my heart rate was. But anyway, he said, we're going to warm up, have you warm up, get your heart rate up to 155 beats per minute, which he said is going to be your maximum aerobic heart rate, meaning that if you train at that heart rate or lower, you're training your aerobic fat burning endurance system to get stronger. If you train above that, you're accessing your anaerobic carbohydrate burning system that's actually high stress on your body. Aerobic training is low stress on your body. It does not activate that fight or flight response. When you train hard, high heart rate, high intensity, high output, fast paces, you activate your fight or flight stress response in your body. So when you do a track workout, your ancient genetics are saying there's danger around. I need to access that carbohydrate source of fuel because it's kind of like fast burning. It'll enable me to run away from danger. So anyway, back to the track story. We went to a track. He said, we're going to have you warm up, get your heart rate up to close to 155 beats a minute, and then we're going to have you time 5 miles on the track and see what your average pace is, about 5K. Sorry, 3 miles, 5K. And so right away, first time I'd ever use a heart rate monitor, at a very slow pace, my heart rate hit 155 beats a minute. I felt like I was barely moving. And we timed it, and the pace that I had to run was about an 8 minute, 45 second mile, which was almost 3 or 3.5 minutes slower per mile than I was trying to do on those fast segments in every single run that I did. In fact, if I did a race and I ran an 8.5 minute pace per mile, I would have had guys twice my age out racing me, out sprinting me, running faster than me. But he said, don't worry about it. Just train at that heart rate or below in every one of your workouts for the next few months, and you'll see that you'll slowly start to get faster at those heart rates. And so that's what I did. And eventually, after doing a lot of aerobic training, adding back in some anaerobic work, because we all do need to do that, I was able to actually run a 5.5 minute mile and still be aerobic. That's pretty darn fast. So anyway, how can you use this, and why is it so important for triathlon? Well, one of the things that we're trying to do when in my coaching, especially when I'm training my athletes, is to get them fit without burning them out. If you do high intensity training all the time, it's high stress, high physiological stress on your body. It's the same as if you're under mental stress, lack of sleep stress, if you have inflammation in your body, that kind of stress, just any kind of stress. If you have it all the time, it's not good for your health. It's not good for your fitness. It will slow down the development of your fat burning engine, your endurance engine. And that's what you need for triathlon. Think about this. Physiologically, any event over about 4 minutes is going to benefit from having the ability to utilize fat as part of the source of fuel for that exercise, for that race. So obviously every triathlon is going to be longer than 4 minutes. And that means that you will benefit by developing that aerobic fat burning engine. And that happens when you train at your maximum aerobic heart rate or less. So what happens when you do make that switch from aerobic to anaerobic, from mostly fat burning to then being more mostly carbohydrate burning? Well, when you switch over, like for me, when I was younger, at 155 beats a minute or less, I was burning fat, mostly fat. When I went over it, I was burning mostly carbohydrate. It was anaerobic. It was high stress on my body, right? And so when you make that switch, you actually shut off that fat burning engine. You slow it down, and it doesn't start working again for about 7 to 9 hours. So when you do a workout, maybe it's just mostly aerobic, let's say. It's, at 155 beats a minute or less for me at that point in time. And then the last 20 minutes, with my training partners, we all start to go hard. I shut off the fat burning, and then later when my body's trying to recover and recoup, regenerate, rebuild, and gain more fitness from that workout, what it does is it says, let's see, was it fat burning or was it carbohydrate burning? And if it sees carbohydrate burning, it will develop that physiology more than the fat burning physiology. In triathlons, we want to be good fat burners. And the only way to do that is to do a lot of your training aerobically. Okay, so let me just stop for a moment and just kind of give you a number that represents what your maximum aerobic heart rate would be. So you take 180, you subtract your age, whatever your age is, and then you'll get a number. And from there, you're going to adjust that number based on your fitness. If you don't do any kind of training at all, you would actually subtract 5 more beats off of that number. If you train, a couple days a week, and then you just leave the number where it is. If you've actually trained 3 or 4, 5 days a week for at least a year or more, then you can actually add 5 beats onto that number. Okay? And then the final correction is whatever number you have now, if you are over about 55 years old or under about 25 years old, add 5 more beats to it. So let me give you an example of me right now. I'm 61 years old. So I would take 180, subtract my age, 61. That would give me 119 beats a minute. And then since I've been training for a year or more at 4 or 5 days a week, or 40 years, whatever it is, I'd add 5 more beats. So that would be 124. And then since I am over 55, I'd add another 5 beats. So that would be 129. So at 129 beats a minute, I am going, or less, I'm going to be developing that fat burning aerobic engine. When I go over that, I will develop the carbohydrate burning engine. The fat burning engine, the endurance engine, the aerobic engine has a huge potential for giving us overall fitness. The anaerobic engine, the anaerobic physiology, only has a small little bit of fitness gains that it can give us. It's important to do that though, no matter what distance triathlon you're doing, even if you're doing an Ironman distance race. And the reason is that the fat burning is going to give you that real base of fitness. The anaerobic carbohydrate burning will actually help raise all of your fitness markers because it helps raise your VO2 max, which is your ability to get in oxygen quicker. When we get oxygen in quicker, we can burn more fat per minute. Okay? So anyway, every distance triathlon will benefit from doing aerobic training. So in the beginning of the year, you start out and you do 1 month, 2 months, maybe even 3 months of basically pure aerobic training. Of course, every 2-3 weeks, you can do something really fast just to kind of shock your system. Maybe you do a 5K, you run a 10K, you do a real hard group workout of running or cycling, something like that. That's fine. But it's when you start doing 1 or 2 or 3 days a week of anaerobic work every week that you have to really be careful, because that can start to stress your body out and you can actually end up getting slower. So you start your season, first couple months you do basically all aerobic training. Okay? It takes patience, because in the beginning, if you're not a good fat burner, you're going to have to slow down, way down from what you're probably used to doing to keep your heart rates in that aerobic zone. But you will slowly start to get faster. And then as you see your progress, your pace per mile or per kilometer gets faster, your power output at any given heart rate gets higher, and then eventually you will see that it kind of levels off. And that's the point where then it is going to be important for you to continue your fitness development by adding in weekly speed work. Speed work is good to do, but only at the right moments, and not for too many weeks in a row. Young people can handle more speed work than older people, but it's very important for all age groups to actually do speed work at some point throughout the year. What about strength training? Well, technically strength training is anaerobic because it's ballistic. It's pushing a weight, it's lifting a weight. But if you do sets of 12 to 15 reps that are challenging but don't take you to complete failure, it actually ends up being fairly low stress on your body, and you will benefit from that even if you're doing purely aerobic training in your base period. Okay? So again, strength work is going to be important. One, because when you are slowing things down for that aerobic training, your muscles don't get worked the same way as they do when you're doing hard stuff. But you can't do hard stuff all the time because you will end up getting burned out. It will suppress your immune system. It can lead to mood swings. You don't feel good. You're not motivated. You're irritable. Your sleep gets disrupted. And worst of all, eventually, if you do too much speed work, you're actually going to start getting slower. And you're thinking you're getting out of shape, but it's just that your body's overstressed. Okay? So start in the beginning of the year. Any distance triathlon you're going for, any distance running race you're going for, other than a mile or shorter, 1,500 meters or shorter, you're going to benefit from doing aerobic training. Once you see that that starts to plateau, then you can add in your speed work. And you will do 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks of speed work in a row as you lead into your races to really get that top end speed and to raise your VO2 max, which will also improve your aerobic pace. And again, in the beginning, this can take a lot of patience because you may have to slow way down to keep your heart rate from going too high. On the bike, it's not as much of an issue as it is running. Running, the perceived effort at any given heart rate is going to be a lot easier than that same heart rate on the bike, simply because running is weight bearing. You're holding your weight, so the heart rate goes up quicker for less perceived exertion or less perceived output. That's just normal. And then eventually you will get faster. And you can kind of test your pace, see how your improvement is going. You can go to a running track and time 5 kilometers or 3 miles and just see what your average pace is right at that maximum aerobic heart rate. It will get faster over time. And then when you see that it slows down, then you add in the speed work. And you do 1 or 2 days a week of speed work. You keep the other days aerobic, and then you'll see that your pace will continue to get faster. Your power output will get faster at any given heart rate. And that's what you're looking for. And again, this is important for all distance triathlons. It's important for young people and old people, all the same. It's just how we're put together as human beings to get more fit. If you want help with your training, please reach out to me. My coaching is at markallencoaching.com. I train people all over the world, so if you're from Brazil, I'd love to help you out as much as anybody else. So check it out. I hope you've enjoyed this talk on heart rate training. If you have questions, you can email me directly through my website. And again, love to help you out. Mark Allen for Shed Talks. We'll see you soon.